All right, guys, it says we are live. Eli's in the house cooking supper tonight. He got a air fryer for his birthday, and he's been wearing that bad boy out. But and I can't get my green screen to work. Something's wrong with my the whatever it's called StreamYard on my laptop, and I can't get it up. So we're having to use the phone, and the phone won't do the background. So I had some pretty good backgrounds I was going to do. So I could play with that when I have more time. I was up. Oh, excuse me, till 2 a.m. roasting coffee. So ended up with 203 pounds of roasted coffee. And then tomorrow night, I'm going to do the same. Tomorrow night will be Wednesday night. I'm going to do the same. I think that I'm going to get Eli to do a little bit of a podcast and then come over and have me in the background. We're going to see if we can filter out the noise of the roaster, as it would be fairly loud. But anywho, I am Ashley Williams. This is Legacy Farms Coffee, and we're also Legacy Farms Missions. We're in the process of redoing the nonprofit. It's still lfmissions.org, and so you can send those checks to, just like you've normally done everything. But in about 2 months, 3 months, it will be Legacy Farms Missions, and it will be just a little bit different, but um, we'll explain a little more in detail why we're doing that and all that good stuff. But we have tried to answer questions at the beginning. So a couple of questions this week. We've been doing a 5-part session on like the life of the coffee or whatever. Things didn't work out last week, so I missed last week. But the main questions this week were, I've been talking about doing a trip. They were calling it a mission trip, but it'll be a mission team of one. We're building a classroom on the farm for the kids, and that will also, the reason it's a little more complicated is it's also going to double as an apartment. So we're building a little mini bathroom shower in there, and we're going to have a mini kitchen. The sink is going to be on hinges. It'll fold up against the wall, so it's going to have quick connects for the 2 water pipes, and it will literally lift off of the drain pipe. And so it'll lift up on the wall. So during the week, the kids can use it for a classroom. And the refrigerator, microwave, those things will be tucked away in the bathroom and locked up so the kids won't get into that. And then we have lots of different bed combinations so that we have North Americans come out or Hondurans. The last family that stayed out there was Honduran. So they come out, we can either bring 2 or 3 double beds, or we can bring up to 9 single beds and put it in the little apartment. We're hoping that in the next 6 months, I'm asking for about $11,000 worth of donations, and that's going to finish up 2 projects we've already started, and those 2 projects will hold probably 27 to 30 people, according to what the configuration is. So it's going to be a big project for us, a big undertaking. So hopefully in the next 6 months, before sort of next year's mission season hits, which is in March, we've hopefully got some people coming out during Thanksgiving. We've got some people coming out. There's 1 week open in February and 1 week open in January for coffee lovers or anybody to come out and spend a week on the coffee farm. We're trying to figure out all those costs. That's the hard part. You're not in it for profit necessarily, but we have to cover somebody driving all the way to the airport and picking you up and things like that, and then your food. If you do come out during harvest, it's going to be more coffee and work oriented. We probably won't get to go out a single night and eat dinner. If we do, it's going to be local in town and be pretty quick. So if you're thinking about those lines, we've had a lot of questions this year, more so than any other year, about coming out to the farm. But harvest, normally you would have to come out Sunday to Sunday, because Sunday's the only day we're not picking coffee. So if you come out on a Sunday, you fly in on a Sunday, then I'm more able to take off and go to the airport, help you get through customs and all that good stuff, and then I'll take you back on a Sunday as well. So those are considerations you'd have to have. Otherwise, once you get in the airport, it's most people speak English in there, so it's not a problem. But it is $105 to get a taxi to drive out to the farm and pick you up and take you and bring you back. So if you come during the day when I'm not able to take you, then that's a consideration also. But most of the time, I think we've been charging about $60 a day, and that covers your food and your board and everything, and then we add in for whatever it costs to get to the airport and back. So it's fairly cheap. Um, if you watch your tickets and order your tickets whenever you find the best deal, you can come out from anywhere from $500 to $900. Tonight I'm drinking a Lempira Peaberry. It's a this one's sort of a hodgepodge. It's a mix. It's pea berries from Bourbon, Sargimore, Lempira, everything, Perinema, Ike2, every coffee that we grow. It was towards the end of the year, and I just put something together to make up a bag. So I've got about 45, 50 pounds of just completely mixed pea berry. I've got another bag of coffee that's like that. They dumped in all the samples. And so it's 8 ounces of this, 8 ounces of that. So it's not really sure about the flavor profile. I should just for fun send it in and have it cupped. But I have quite a bit of pea berry left over. Uh, for you guys that are my regular listeners, and that's Richard, Coronado's, you guys, we're getting ready to pull green off. I just got notice today that the container is delayed. It's probably going to be here a couple of days after I head to Honduras for this next trip. So that means it's going to be October the 1st or we're going to try to have it delivered on September the 25th. That'll literally be the day after I get back. That's also the day that I have a pretty big fundraiser coming up. So we're going to pull green coffee off pretty quick. Within the next 2 days, we're going to pull green coffee off the website. So it's just so I don't run out here in the roastery, because I don't really make much profit on the green coffee. I make my profit on the roasted. And you guys that roast know about moisture loss, and I sort of do the math at 6 pounds makes 5 pounds. So 6 pounds of green coffee, you're losing maybe 18% overall. Last night I roasted, I had a couple batches. I was at 15.8%, and I had a couple batches. The dark roast was right at 18%. So it varies from coffee to coffee. The 17 is a pretty good number, but sort of in my head, I do 20%, and I can do that math. So that's or 5 pounds will get you 4, I guess, at that rate. But you lose coffee when you roast it, but you gain a lot of profit also when you roast it. And so me having a family business, I can handle that roasted stuff better because my family helps me bag. They grind, they do all that stuff. I just have to spend some time roasting until 2 o'clock, because if you try to roast during the day, there's always going to be a customer comes in. Today was my day to work on the computer and get caught up, and it's a blessing to have customers come in. But I had 2 of them that came in, had a whole bunch of questions. One came in, had battery trouble. So, half the day I was spent with that. But the mission trip thing that I'm doing is making that classroom for the kids. And it'll also be for if you guys come out and visit the farm. It is a spectacular view. And one of the things I'm doing is having to put a concrete roof on it. And we talked about that a little bit last week. Because eventually there will be a second story on that particular building. So it's extremely expensive because I had a mega foundation underneath it, because there's going to be a second building on top, and because we're on a hill. So I had to have a pretty good foundation on it. So we're trying to build a really big porch on the front of it, so that when you do stay, you're going to have this great view, and it'll be a screened in porch. So things are a little more expensive, but we'll deal that when it comes. The contractors I've talked with didn't want to do it unless I was there, so I used all my points and some cash, and I got a ticket, and I got it far enough out that I thought I could. The coffee would be here before then. So if I'm not here, it's not the end of the world. We'll find some people to help unload it, but I've never missed one yet, and I like it when it's here. I like to be there when it's loaded, and I like to be here when it's unloaded. So it's just a fun thing that I do. But mission stuff aside, we will talk about the series we were already talking about. I'm going to see if I can get this up. Somebody just sent in a question. I'm going to see if I can pull it up on my laptop because I'm old and I don't have my. Well, there's a lot of questions. All right. And you guys are welcome to hop online. I posted that link, and you can click on that link, and you can get on the podcast with me, and we can talk. I'll even put your pretty face on there. Talking about fermenting coffee. That's literally the topic for tonight is fermenting coffee. You know, we've only been practicing or experimenting with the fermented coffee, and this is arts and craft coffee. So if there's a regular old name that goes with that. Uh, I haven't had the opportunity to roast a lot. The stuff. Okay, here we come. I am not a computer guy, so if anybody wants to come down and be on a podcast and just help me, uh, oh wow, it's got. Do you guys see the subtitles? Oh man, technology just overwhelms me. I don't know what to do. If you guys are getting an echo because I have the podcast on and Instagram on, let me know and I'll shut it off. And there is like a second and a half delay. And just let me know if there's any distractions for you guys. We've tried a couple of different fermentings with the anaerobic. We're designing a tank, and that's what I'll go up in around Thanksgiving. I'm going up to the farm. I've got a tank, and I don't know, you guys, I haven't figured the cubic feet or whatever on it, but it's going to be, I'm going to have to shut that. It's too distracting watching myself. Well, I got some stickers on there that might be sketchy for a few of my customers. So can't win for losing tonight. Uh, I've got a tank. It's probably 6 wide, 12 long, and it's 5 foot deep. I'm going to put a top on that, and the top is going to actually slide down and compress the coffee. With the anaerobic, you want to get all the oxygen out, as much out as possible. And if I can get a good enough seal on it, we're actually going to try to pump it out, pump the oxygen out, or pump in nitrogen. But currently what we've been doing is me and a couple of guys will fill the plastic 55-gallon drums. And after there's about a foot of coffee, we just press it down. And so sometimes we'll stick Pedro in there and let him just walk it down with a new pair of boots on. And we're definitely buy boots every year for the patio. And that's another good topic we could get on is how we process coffee on the patio. So we'll go into that next week. But we just press that coffee in as tight as we can, and then it takes 4 of us to push the lid down. And then you have a little valve. It's sort of like you see when I've seen them ferment. I don't know if it's fermenting beer or what they're doing, but you put a little bit of water in it and it lets the gas pass out and it doesn't let new oxygen come in. It's just a little water block valve, or I'm not sure what you'd call it. I'll try to post a picture of it, but I'm sure a lot of you guys know. I'm old enough that I start forgetting a lot of stuff. If we've done that this year, we did it with a couple of the 55-gallon drums. And so I think we found our fermenting. A couple months ago, we talked a little bit about it. I haven't gotten higher scores, and there are no stupid questions here. So if you guys don't understand scores and flavor profiles and things like that, but I've grown the same coffee for years. And so it's always Lempira Ika 2. It's very difficult to change your variety. It takes 4 years for it to really come into production. So I pretty much know my coffee, and I know what my flavor profiles are, and I know what my scores normally are on it. And uh, so in the anaerobic fermentation, look at that, a meal fit for a king. Stick your head in, boy. Hey, Eli wasn't on the podcast because he's serving dinner for the family tonight. Wow, man, that looks awesome. Thanks, buddy.
Did it all myself.
Oh, is it fish?
Yep.
What
Fish and
kind,
chips.
what kind of fish?
Tilapia.
Oh, tilapia. A big Honduran fish there. Thanks, buddy. So I know what my flavor profiles are for year to year, and just take the Lempira variety. If we wash the Lempira, it's always going to be chocolate, hints of caramel. Every once in a while, like this year, we had some that had citrus and some things like that in it. But most of the time, the Lempira washed, unless we do something different on the fermenting side of it, the Lempira washed is chocolate with caramel notes and a nutty finish a lot of times. If you hit that sort of cinnamon level of roasting, I get sort of a nutty finish, and I love that. That tends to pop up more in the Lempira washed pea berry than some of the other coffees. But so I know what my flavor profiles are. And so when I do the anaerobic fermentation, a lot of people have been saying they get a lot better scores out of it. My scores haven't changed any. The scores bounce a half a point to a point. That's not unusual at all. But I haven't gotten any of the big jumps in my flavor or in my points. But what I have gotten was really unusual flavor notes. And so I'm getting harder fruit, and I'm getting a lot of different tastes in there. So it's not just fruit, it's a specific fruit. Or it's not just hints of citrus, it's a specific. It's grapefruit, or it's orange, or it's things like that. So for us, the anaerobic hasn't helped on the cupping, the notes, but it has helped on the cupping scores. I said that wrong. Hasn't helped on the cupping scores as far as 85 or 87, but what it has done was made a difference in the citrus on. Hey, Bill, how you doing? And Jason said he just placed an order. But hey, what is the name? The Arts and Craft Coffee? And I'm not good with names. What is your actual name, so I can call your name out every once in a while? And if you have a website or something like that, post it, because I think it'll show on my notes here. But if not, I'll say it out loud, and it'll come up on the words that you see on the screen. And I sure don't mind posting it on my website either. So and we'll give you a shout out for sure. We don't have that many people. Like, I think right now there's 6 people actually viewing it, but we've had 20 and 30 viewing it, but there's a lot of views afterwards. And we don't pull our posts down, so the posts from 2 years are still up there. So if you sell your coffee on Facebook, make sure you have a license, because you don't want to post it on here if you don't have a license, or your cottage laws. And any of that you have trouble with, holler at me. I think Richard just sells his to friends or gives it to friends and stuff like that. Bill is selling coffee at farmers markets and stuff like that. Okay, Travis. Oh yeah, no, jump in. And anybody's welcome at any time to jump on the podcast. You just click on that link that I posted, and it should take you to the podcast. Or if you have something you want to talk about, then you're welcome. I think Richard's been on, Bill's been on, a lot of people have been on the podcast at different times. I've got a couple guys that I've invited to come on it. I've invited Kevin Sinnott. He's invited us to speak again. We spoke last year at CoffeeCon in Chicago, and so we're talking to him about doing another speaking thing at CoffeeCon. And he said we could do sell our roasted coffee there. Last year there was a lot of roasters, and so we sold quite a bit of coffee, and So it was definitely an experience last year. But I'm hoping to be able to speak there again this year. I noticed he's already put our logo on his website for the 2024 conference. So I'm not sure what our part will be in it, but and we're looking for volunteers, anybody in the Chicago area that would like to come up. It's for a couple of days. And if we need to, we'll rent a room if a couple guys want to share a room. But last year we were just overwhelmed. We had no idea how many people were going to be coming to our booth. So we gave out, I think 700 and something 3 or 4 ounce coffee bags. And we just did constant pour over. We ended up going to Target the first night and buying, I think we bought a couple of V60s and another kettle, and I forget what all we bought. Some of it's still sitting on the shelf from last year, but it was all we could do was just to do one pour over after another. We had 2 kettles going. As soon as I finished a pour over, we dumped it into a vacuum pot. Eli was putting it out there and pouring little 2 ounce sample cups, and it was just that it was that way all day, every day. Well, Travis, what do you roast on? And I'll try to get back on the fermenting topic after that. I think everybody on here sort of has a different roast method. But mainly on fermenting coffee, there's a couple different ways. I've tried some of the traditional ways. One of the traditional ways that they do, and I think it's just because it's easy, is they put it in a tank. After they depulp the coffee, they put it in a tank and they fill that tank level with water and they put a stick in it. And so they put the stick in it, the stick falls over, and they come back and they'll do 12 or 24 or 36 hours. They have their regimen. But let's say after 24 hours, they'll go out and they'll put this stick, a 1-inch stick about 6 or 7 feet long, in the tank. And if the stick falls over, then they come back every couple of hours until the stick does not fall over. And once it's fermented and that water becomes thick enough that the stick won't fall over, it holds up, then they say it's fermented enough. So they open that tank up and drain the water off, and then they pull the coffee out and they start drying it on the patio or their mechanical dryer, however they dry their coffee. I've never used the artisans. I had the fresh roast. I had the SR 700, and I still have it on the farm. I mainly use the Hucky 500s. Or no, yeah, 500T. I actually have got a third one of those. I have one on the farm and one here. I'm going to take a third one down to the farm, or I'm taking the third one down to the farm. So when I go in September, I'll take parts of it. And then when I go in November, I'll take the other parts. And so I've got a new friend in customs that's going to help me with my paperwork to get it into the country. And we're going to set up a roastery to where the guys, the farmers around me can come in, and we'll have somebody that comes by 1 day a week and it roasts the samples, and then he'll cup them, and they'll be able to pay $5, $6, $7 and get a cupping, an official cupping of their coffee, so that if it's really good, then we'll try to buy it. But otherwise, they'll have a better negotiating point if they've actually got their scores, and they won't have to just sell their coffee for a base price. And Travis, correct me if I'm wrong, the 3E, it does 3 pounds at a time or 3 kilos at a time? I'm not 100% sure how many pounds Bill's does at a time. My little Hucky, with cupping, you try to do everything exactly the same. So my Hucky, I put in 12 ounces, and then I hope to get out 10.3. So that's my roast level. So at the end of the night, if it comes too far off of that 10.3 ounces, then I'll roast it again. If it's above 10.5 or below 10 ounces, I will re-roast it so that I just want a really consistent roast for when I do cuppings. And on the farm, we generally do 20 at a time. My cupping table is an 8-position table. Each position has 5 cup spots. And so we can do an international cupping where they'll generally do 5 cups at a time. But that's my sample roasting. I'm going to try to stay on topic tonight. We talked a little bit about the anaerobic fermentation, and for us, we're doing it in barrels now. We're going to switch to the big tank, but when we do that, we're going to have to figure out a bigger valve for the air. Right now on our farm, we do a standard fermenting. So when the coffee comes in at 2 o'clock, we'll weigh it, put it in the tank, cover it with black plastic so it generates a little bit of the heat. So we ferment mostly in the cherry. I found that for us, fermenting it in the cherry gives a little more time for the juice to soak in, and it gives us a little bit more fruit or citrus. And then we make the decision: are we going to pulp the coffee and go straight into a honey process, or are we going to pulp the coffee and then wash it and put it on the and then go to the patio? If I'm wanting a coffee that's going to be really nice and clean and just have that hard chocolate with nice pronounced caramel notes, then I won't ferment it as much. I'll ferment it like overnight, and that very next morning we're going to wash it. So if I'm going to do a really cleaner cup, then I'll go ahead and pulp the coffee right then, ferment it in the juices overnight in the canal, so that a lot of that juice runs off during the night. And then from there, I will go straight to washing it first thing that morning, 7 o'clock. We'll be filling it with water and getting that mucilage off of it, get it squeaky clean, and put it straight on the patio. So within 18 hours, it's done a light fermenting and goes to the patio to start drying. Versus the honey process, I'm going to go all the way up to maybe 36 hours of fermenting it in the cherry, and then I'm going to pulp it. And if the smell is not just the way I like it, then I'll put that pulped coffee in bags, throw them out on the patio on a sheet of black plastic, cover them with a sheet of black plastic, and then I'll finish the day out fermenting it, getting as warm as possible. And then we'll throw it out on the patio with its mucilage still on it and the juice still on it. And that's where the red honey name comes in. And so then we'll do a red honey process. It'll be a little bit harder fermented versus what I call my hard fermented. My hard fermented would be, we would leave it out there a day and a half in the cherry, in the tank, covered with the black plastic, and let it warm up, pretty nice and hot. That would be a harder fermented coffee. The fourth, I guess, sort of thing that we do would be fermenting it for the full natural, because there's a big difference between pulped natural and what people call a natural and our full natural. So our full natural never comes out of the cherry until we hand select it, the day before we hand select it. So that coffee is going to be fermented in the cherry, and then it'll spend its life in the cherry. So once it's picked, it'll go straight under that black plastic. And so we'll keep it warm until the next day when we take it out to the drying field, and we'll dump it out on black plastic, then wrap it up in black plastic and leave it another day. And that is our hard fermented full natural. And it'll have a nice little wine smell to it. And it is what they nicknamed the fruit bomb. So it's a nice hard fermented coffee. So it's really hard to tell on fermenting sometimes what somebody's actually done to it, because they manipulate the processes so much, and they use wordplay with the different processes according to what the customer wants. And so when you get a natural, it's mostly, if it just says natural on the bag, most likely it's not a full natural. Or if it's a pulped natural, they'll let it ferment or sit in the cherry for a couple of days, and then they process it and wash it right there. So that's what they would call a pulped natural. That would be more the equivalent of our red honey. But a full natural is not going to come out of that cherry for at least 3 months until we've aged it. And it dries, and then once it's dry, because to dry it, we have to pull the cherry off and put it in our sample roaster. I mean, put it in our sample dehuller, and then we have to put it in the moisture tester. So when it gets close to being dry, 3 times a day, we're pulling a couple of pounds of that coffee out, taking the cherry off with a dry process, and then we're having to test the moisture in it, because you can't put cherry and all in there and do a moisture test on it. It won't come out correct. But a lot of things are deceptive when it comes to processing, and a lot of guys will say, is that they'll ask you what kind of coffee you want before they'll tell you what they have. And the reason they do that is because if you say a honey process and all they have is washed, then semi-washed coffee and yellow honey are almost identical processes. So if I describe the two processes of semi-washed and yellow honey, they're almost identical. And so a lot of times if you say you want honey, they'll say, oh, I have a yellow honey. If you say you want washed, they'll say, well, I have a semi-washed. So basically they let it dry in the juices, but they move the coffee with water when they moved it from one location to the other, and that washed most of the mucilage off. So technically it's still dried in some of its juices, but not all of its juices. So the process didn't turn red like a red honey. It just got discolored, so they call it a yellow honey. Or it could be considered a semi-washed, either one. So you sort of have to watch out for some of that. And there's bad guys in all the different processes. Yeah, Travis, you said 3, but you tend to run about 2. I can put 30 pounds in my roaster, but I generally go with 22 to 25, and my sweet spot is 22. I like 22 pounds. There's a lot of control in that. I don't know if I missed any questions there. If I don't answer your question, just throw it up there again. Again, I don't have my glasses on, so I'm straight. Yeah, I love the cottage law because it allows you to really get your foot in the door without having to buy the triple base sinks and all that good stuff. Because technically in the roaster, you're supposed to have a triple base sink that will cover 60% is the minimum of whatever size buckets that you're washing. And that is subject to the opinion of the inspector. And then you have to have a hand washing sink that's so many feet away from that. And then you have to have a mop sink that's so many feet away from that. We got away with not having a wheelchair accessible bathroom because the house is so close. So we had a very good experience so far with our health inspector. But being able to start out with the cottage law, Kansas doesn't have a specific cottage law. And now, Travis, what state are you in? But they have the equivalent, and the equivalent is just what the health department decided it was going to be. And so they said somewhere around, and again, it's the honor system, somewhere around 300 pounds of coffee per year, I think is what they said. It might have been 5, but so when we got caught selling coffee without a license, they looked over everything and asked what I'd done, and they said, well, you still fall under this little law. Sorry, guys, I missed lunch, so I'm starving to death. So, a long story short, we shipped our roaster from Honduras to here. And when we were doing, it was in transit, they dropped the roaster off the dock and just really banged it up. But mainly it was frame damage. But the only way we could figure is they said you need to make a claim. The only way we could make a claim was to see what was broken. The only way we could see what was broken was to crank that bad boy up. And so we got it wired up and got a propane and all hooked up on it and started roasting. And with a bigger roaster, it took me a couple of batches. So I had 100 pounds more or less. And so I started putting it out on Facebook. And there was a nonprofit that was starting up, and I had 100 pounds of coffee, and they were wanting to buy some coffee, and it was for people with disabilities and handicaps. And so they were wanting to buy coffee in bulk, and they wanted to pack it themselves and give those people something to do. So I said, well, that's just win-win. I need to get rid of a lot of coffee, and so let's do that. So I did. But unbeknownst to me, there was somebody else that had already been bidding on that. So I told him, I said, however much coffee you want on your first time, I'll sell it to you for $5 a pound roasted. Because at that point, I had 0 customers. I was just selling it on Facebook, started that week. And so I said, to me, it'd be a great idea to like just get rid of some coffee or get rid of that coffee. So I did. Well, I'd been selling for like 2 days, and the health department shows up. And right when the health department guy walked in, my wife Julia walked in and sold somebody a bag of coffee right in front of them. So it was basically, I was in a 70-year-old garage with no front door on it, had a card table set up with a bunch of bags of coffee that I'd bought off of eBay. And we were just filling the bags, weighing them on a non-certified scale, which he didn't catch us on that. And so the guy talked to me, and I told him the story. He said, well, technically you haven't broken any laws. He said, we'll give you X amount of pounds a year. And he told me basically what their ruling was almost identical to what cottage law was. And so it worked out great. And he said, what we'll do is I'm going to walk through the building, and I'm going to tell you what all you would have to change in order to use this building to roast coffee in. And he said, you haven't broken any, laws. And he said, unless you're selling online, if you're doing Instagram and Facebook, then that's a big no-no. And he said, have you done that? And I said, yep. And he said, well, in order to do that, you're going to have your FDA license. And I said, well, I export coffee, so I have my FDA license. So that was the one license that I did have. So he gave me the ruling on our list of rules on what all I needed to do. And then they came back a few months later, and this was but they didn't come back. It was during COVID. So we did a video inspection. He told me what all I needed to change, on that. And I changed it all by the end of the day, just some little stuff, changed it by the end of the day. And by that afternoon, we had our license. And so I think they've been out twice since then and done an inspection. And every time we've passed the inspection. I don't know if here it's pass or fail, or if you get a score, but basically they just gave us a license, so it doesn't really have a number score on it. So I like the number score, but they just give us a license. So we've passed every year that they've inspected us. So it's our building is, I think, 21 by 28 feet. And so if you go to my Instagram, my Facebook, you'll see I did like a little 2 or 3 minute tour the other night. We just we painted the floors and put like an epoxy seal or whatever on there. It's that stuff you see at Lowe's. It's like $200 for a gallon of that stuff. So we sealed the floor with that, and I'm loving it because it's so easy to clean. And then we just moved a few things around. We're trying to get things to flow a little bit better. So we moved some things around, getting ready for the big coffee container to come here in a couple weeks. So within the next 3, 4, 5 weeks, it's late, but it will be here within a couple weeks. So that'll be the 2024 crop. Our crop is late because we age our coffee, and in aging it extends the shelf life of it once it's green. So that's mainly done for you roasters. Next year, we will not do that. Next year, we're going to hold out 10,000 pounds of green coffee, and that'll be what we sell on the green side. And the other 20 to 25,000 pounds will be what we roast and sell throughout the year. So that's in order for us to stay in business, that's what we have to do. So we're going to cut out a couple of our bigger customers. I make 50 cents more selling to you guys than I do on the pallets. And so and I have almost zero trouble out of you guys, where I have it's a big pain for the other guys. So I enjoy doing the smaller guys. I have 5 customers that will continue selling bags of coffee to, as far as 8 bags, 10 bags, 20 bags. Other than that, we're gonna mainly focus on home roasters. Next year, I've contracted a couple different farmers, so I'm gonna have a lot more Sargi Moore next year. I'm gonna have a different variety of Perinema next year. I'm gonna have some Castillo. I'm gonna have 10 varieties next year that I don't grow on my farm. And so my friend Herbert is helping me find that coffee and procure that coffee, and he'll dry it and everything for me. We'll cup it and make bids on it right there on the spot. And so that'll be how we buy some of our coffee next year. Yeah, you have to. I think everywhere you have to have that ingredients list, and there's a company called Superior Rubber Stamp, and I think it's like $20 plus shipping, and shipping's like $5 or $6, and they make my stamps for me, and I stamp the bag, and on the back of the bag it says manufactured by Legacy Farms Coffee. It has to have my physical address, zip code, and everything on it. And then on the bottom of mine, I have grind level, and then I have whole beans. So you circle one of the two, and then standard grinders go from either 1 to 10 or 0 to 10, I forget. And so then I circle what grind level they have. And so, and then I have 8, 12, 16, and 80 ounces. So I circle whichever one of those it is. And that met all my requirements for that. And I think those are the same on FDA requirements also. So that stamp was cheap enough. It looks a little more professional, and it's fast. And so it's Superior Rubber Stamp. You call and ask for Joe, and he'll design you a PDF. I just the other day I drew out a logo of a coffee bean, and he knocked that bad boy out for me in 5 days. I had the stamp. Let's see how good this picks it up. Oh, gotta find the camera. That is the stamp that I put on the back. And it makes it, oh, even for my K-cups, I have a circle. If I'm on the low side or the high side of those two numbers, I'll circle that. That helps you a lot with your customer retention. They call and say, "Oh, I got K-cups from you, but it was a little thin. It tasted watered down." They're not able to adjust their water, so we will. I say, "Well, what did I circle the low side or the high side?" And they'll tell me. And if they're on the high side, like if I circle the 12.5 grams and they're still saying it tastes watered down, then I might suggest my espresso blend or my full natural or a darker roast. And those subtitles really work well. Oh, and it also has to tell what kind of coffee it is. So on the ingredients, I've got 100% Arabica coffee. So they've done a couple of those stamps for me, and then they did my Legacy Farms one, and they did there's a tiny coffee bean stamp. The first one they sent me I wasn't in love with because it's too small. So then they did a bigger one. They didn't charge me. And again, Mr. Joe buys coffee from me. So if they're going to try to charge you a setup charge or something, holler at me before you make any commitments, and I'll call Mr. Joe and see if we can get around doing a setup fee. But I buy these bags. I think they're about 60 cents each. I'll have to ask my wife. And from that, I just spend some time. Tonight, I've got to stamp 200 bags before I go to bed. I had a couple of orders come in today. I think I sold 57 pounds of coffee today. And so I'm going to have to stamp some bags. I sold, there was one 12-ounce and 44 1-pound bags, and then I sold a 5-pound bag today. So I'll do a quick inventory of my bags, and I'll have to do some stamping tonight. It takes a little while. The stamps are never perfect, but you'll get used to stamping them. But I think that I like the way that it looks a little bit rustic, and I'm not to the point where I can buy pre-printed bags yet. I'm not that big, and so I have 4-ounce bags, 8-ounce bags, 12-ounce, 16, and then I have the 5-pound bag. So in order to buy bags, you need to buy 500 to 1,000 of each size to get a good price. So it makes it difficult to keep bags, and it's it's not unusual when I do make an order that order is $1,000 or more sometimes, and that's a couple times a year. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it's a big chunk of money that comes through, a couple times a year. But I like the way the bags look. If you want to know where we order them from, we order them from 2 different companies. One of them I think is Specific Bags, and the other one is Save On Bags. But if you want to know, you can email me. Also, if you guys are ever ordering green coffee, if you need bags, I can put that in with your green coffee order a lot of times. So we'll just have to check on that. As long as it doesn't throw off my shipping costs, then we can work that out with you. So check on the prices you can get, and then I'll let you know what I pay. I'm not going to make a profit on the bags or anything like that. Yeah, the guy's name is Joe, and it's a Superior Rubber Stamp. And if you get ready to order, I can give you his cell phone number, and you can just text him, because that's what I did. I texted him. I drew that coffee bean out on a piece of paper and took a picture of it. I took this stamp that he had done before, and I stamped it, and then I put a tape measure up here, and then I put a tape measure here. I took a picture of all that and sent it to him, so then he sort of knew what size coffee bean to make. They messed it up and did a little one, so I'll have to ask my wife, but I don't think they charged me for the little stamp because it was their fault that it wasn't the right size. But they're super nice people, and you can't beat that price. And so the other thing I did was, when I started getting a little bit more, I bought a laser printer. I forget, it's an HP laser printer, and it's just dirt cheap to print them. And then the next thing I bought when I got a little bit bigger was a tank printer, and it's where you pour the colors into the 4 different tanks. Man, that is the most economical thing I've ever seen. And from that, like right here, I'm able to do, I put a little burlap sack. You may not be able to see it that well. Let me look when it comes up with my delay. Yeah, I put a little burlap sack full of coffee on my sticker. I've got some stickers that are colored, blues and reds. I've had the thing well over a year, and I've just now filled all the little tanks for the second or third time. And I sell a fair amount of coffee. And so anytime I get ready to do something, there was a new customer the other day. Her name was Gabriella. And so I did a sticker. It said Gabby's Java on it. Sent it to her. I'll deliver it on Thursday. And it, made a custom label. There was yeah, I mean, just, you can customize stuff like that for your customer in just a matter of seconds. So I just, I buy bulk the 10 labels. I use the 2x4 labels. There's 10 to a page, and I buy those. I think I buy them 10,000 at a time. So it lets me play around, and I keep everything in here. It's got labels on it. The drawers, the shelves, everything's labeled. But if you'll look at my little video tour I did the other day, it shows you pretty good. I've got one place that's a cork board, and above it are all the different varieties of coffee I have. So it's the Bourbon, the Perinema, the EK2, but then you've got Bourbon wash, Bourbon honey, EK2 wash, natural honey. So it's got all the different stickers. So when the orders come in, the first thing I do is lay all the tickets out on the shelf. And then I come back and lay all the bags out. And so some orders are mixed. They want 8 ounce, 12, 16. So I put the different size bags, I separate those. And then I come back, I'll just pull 2 sets of stickers off the wall. And I'll walk down, and everything that gets a full natural Lempira, I'll put those stickers on, and then I just, I make my way down one side, and then I with one sticker, and then I come back and do the other sticker. I grab 2 more off the wall. And so once everything's stickered, then I flip the bags over. I circle whether it's whole bean or ground, and then I flip them back face up, and then I go pull a bucket. My buckets hold 18.5 pounds of coffee. So I pull that bucket off the wall, and I start just walking my way down the orders. And anything that's full natural Lempira, I fill it up. And then I go get another bucket and I fill it up. And so once all those bags are full, then I come through with my roll around tray or cart, and I throw everything that has to be ground on that cart. If it's ground to a specific number, I hold it back and put it on a second cart that I have. The third cart I have, all the whole bean goes on it, and I can go ahead and wheel it over to the sealer. And so I'll get a break. I'll start sealing. I'll throw a couple coffees in the grinders. I'll run over and seal one bag, jump back over the grinders. And so it's worked out. And that's what I was doing the other day, to move some stuff around, to have everything flowing a little bit better. I'm building a table this week, and it's going to have my little small conveyor sealer on it. And then I'll have a sealer that you plug in. It stays hot all the time. And then I'll have my InstaHeat sealer, which is almost an identical sealer, but it's cold. You can stick your fingers in it. But when you push the foot pedal down, it flash heats it and seals the bag right then on the spot. And so that one's a little more, it just doesn't run all the time. So I don't know if one has any more longevity than the other, but we just have different kinds of sealers for different applications. If I'm doing a fundraiser and there's 200 bags to be sealed, we're going to put it on a little conveyor sealer. If I'm just during the day, I use this one sealer, and as soon as the customer walks through the door, I'll reach over and turn it on. And while I'm talking to them, getting their order ready, the sealer heats up, and then we start printing it off, start sealing all the bags, put them into a little thank you bag, and then have them on their way. I redid the shelf the other night. I used to have 4 rows, or 5 technically, 5 rows of coffee, 5 shelves. The bottom row was 16-ounce whole bean. The row above that was 16-ounce ground, 12-ounce whole bean, 12-ounce ground. And then I had things like the really specialty coffee, like the 88-point Perinema that I have, the 88-point full natural that I have, the 87-point coffee that I have. All those went on the top shelf, and they were a little bit different pricing. And then on another set of shelves, I have the caramel rum crunch, Jamaican Me Crazy, pecan, salted caramel, rum popo, ginger spice, pumpkin spice, vanilla. I have all those on the flavored side. So those were things that I moved around the other day so things would flow a little bit better. As soon as that customer comes through the door, I ask them what kind of brew method they have. And if it's just Mr. Coffee, then the next question is, do you drink flavored coffee or do you want regular coffee? What do you put in your coffee? And from that, I'm not going to sell a guy who says, oh, I love creamers. I have this creamer, that creamer, this creamer. I'm not going to sell them an 88-point Perinema because it's $2 a bag more, and it's a waste of money for them. So because they're never going to taste the nuances of that coffee if they're putting creamer in it. So if it's a guy who says, I just drink it black, then I'm going to say, how do you drink it? Well, I got an old Mr. Coffee. But then again, it doesn't really matter which coffee you sell him. He's not super particular. So sell him your base coffee because I want him to be happy. So I'm not going to sell him a coffee that's $18.50 a pound, and he's going to put it into a 20-year-old Mr. Coffee. Hey, Jared, how you doing, man? So those are just little things that I've learned and that I am tickled to help you guys with. If you ever have any questions, it's not a competition thing. I was blessed with having some guys that helped me out a little bit when I got started, but for the majority of it, I got tired of asking people if I felt like that was bothering them. So I just quit asking and I just started sort of playing with it. And I am definitely not a successful coffee roaster. I'm not a great coffee roaster. I can roast my coffee better than most people probably. Although I have had some guys that roast my coffee really well, to the point where I actually hired one of the guys that buys my coffee. I hired him to roast for me when I was in Honduras. I can't, I'm not at the point where I'm making a profit because I've only been roasting for 3 years. Yeah, exactly. And you never know your customer. We have these, they're called Holderman Mennonites, and they're a real strict religious set. Uh, in the older days, like they would buy a car, they wouldn't have aluminum wheels put on it. They'd have the radio pulled out on it. You know, they just bought a basic car. Nowadays, it's hard to get a truck ordered without aluminum wheels on it and stuff like that. But so they came through, and I was just because I judged them, I prejudged them, and I was just selling them basic coffee. And I got in this routine where I started asking everybody, "What do you do?" They are my largest customer for the full natural coffee. Why? And for my canal washed. Why? Because they come through the door. Statistically, they are more likely to own an espresso machine than any of my other customers. More times than not, they'll say, I have an espresso machine at home. And so for them, then I'm selling them something a little bit different, a little bit nicer. Um, it's just that you never can tell what a person's got, you know. And I've been surprised at some of the older people that have a French press. You know, I live next to a retirement home. That's the only reason I started carrying a dark roast. I want a dark, strong coffee, and so I started carrying a dark roast. It's, you know, but I think it makes a big difference if you start asking these people. And even, I mean, most of you guys are going to start out doing farmers markets. And for me, our farmers market's so small, it didn't pay for me to go. I think the biggest day I ever had at farmers market, I sold 5 pounds of coffee. And that was when the first couple of months I was starting out, and I was selling coffee for $8 a pound. I just desperately needed to sell coffee. One of the biggest bump that I ever had in sales was when I went from $8 a pound. I made the jump straight to $12 a pound, and I started selling a lot more coffee. People thought it was a low grade cheap coffee, and so I raised the price on it, and it started selling better. Now I'm sure there's a top to that. Right now, I don't know exactly what all my prices are online because Julia deals more with that. But I think my cheapest coffee right now online is $14.25. And I think you have to order. I think Julia's either just moved it or is fixing to move it to $40. And at $40, you get free shipping. I have noticed though, I bet she did put that in because in the last 2 weeks, when you look at your, I don't know, what's it called, not demographics, but if you look at your stat sheets, my 5 pound bags have gone through the roof. And my 5 pound bags sell between 60 something and $70 for a 5 pound bag. And I would bet you that the reason that's happening is because people used to buy 3 pounds of coffee at $14 a pound, and they just to get the free shipping. And so what is the math on that? They're spending 45 bucks roughly, and they're getting, or 44.75, and they're getting 3 pounds of coffee. If they'll throw in another 20 bucks, they get another 2 pounds. And so, yeah, the 5 pound bags have gone through the roof. Yesterday, there was 7 orders, and 5 of the orders were 5 pound bags. So we've been doing a lot of 5 pound bags here lately. And for me, that's fine. It's a bulk. I sell it. It always goes into 11 7.5 by 5.5 inch box. 5 pounds fits in there perfect, and it ships for anywhere from $8.25 to $10.31 to pretty much anywhere in the U.S. So if I can sell it for 66 and ship it for 10, I got 56 bucks on a bulk sale, and I'm still making roughly $11 a pound. So that's like selling to a wholesale customer roughly. And so, for us, that's good enough. Um, but we have been every couple months, we've been like every 6 months since COVID, we've raised the prices like a quarter or something like that, just to try to keep up with the shipping and stuff like that, because shipping has gone up quite a bit. For any of you guys on that do ship, you'll know that they got rid of the regional A, the regional B boxes. So that's cost us a lot of money on shipping. And now we're having to buy a lot of our boxes, which used to, we just shipped everything priority mail. The priority mail is not that much faster than just a regular shipping. So we just quit using priority mail almost for everything. If it comes in, if there's a 6-pound order, we put it in that soft pack, that padded soft pack. And then I cover the entire soft pack with shipping tape. I wrap it this way and then I wrap it this way. Because the post office now has a policy. Used to, if the box got broken and some coffee was spilling, they patched the box up and sent it on to the customer. Now they throw it away and just send us a notice and tell us to make a claim on it. About the green screen, I can't get the green screen to pull up on the cell phone, so I'm having to do my cell phone tonight because I couldn't get my podcast up on the laptop. I'm having some trouble with my laptop, but usually I have a picture of Bill on there, and that helps drive business. Now, Jared, roughly how much are you sending? Because Jared, you need to send me a PM. I use, here it is right here. It's called XPS Ships, and I'll get you the information on that. But send me to, no, it shouldn't be that much. If it's less than about 10 pounds in the box, you can send 10 pounds in a Walmart box, and stop buying your boxes at Walmart. Buy them online and they'll ship them to you for free. But 10 pounds, you can ship that in you might be able to get into the 12, 8, 10 box. I know you can ship, and they have another box that's 15, 12, 10 are the dimensions on the box at Walmart, and you can put 20 pounds of coffee in that. And I just shipped it within the state, and it was $18.75 to ship 20 pounds within Kansas. I shipped one to Pennsylvania today. It was 3 pounds. It was $8.28 to ship it from Kansas, 3 pounds to Pennsylvania. And then I shipped another one with 24 pounds in it with a 17, 11, 13 box that I buy at Walmart. That box will hold 28 pounds of roasted, but I only had 24, and it shipped for $20.88. And then I shipped that 5-pound box I shipped was $8 even, and it was inside of Kansas. So you need to get on the XPS ships. And let me make a note here. If you'll send me a PM, Jared, I'll send you that information. What you do, and I'll send you a screenshot. So today when I open up, well, shoot, I can just pop it right there. Well, that might be a mistake. It took me a while to get my camera up there. I'll send you a screenshot of what this looks like. But when I pulled it up, of course, mine is attached to my store, and yours won't be that way. But mine has a balance. So right now I have $59.53 in my account. When it starts getting low, this account is tied into my checking account. And so I just go in and I do $100 recharge. So I just click on, but you can do as little as $5. So I punch in to recharge $100. So it changed that 59.53 to 159.53, and it's almost instantly. And so I had a bunch of orders that were going out today. And so my shipping today was almost $70. And so I didn't have enough in there. So I added another 100. So I didn't have to worry about it. And then I pull up and it asks for length, width, height, weight in pounds, and weight in ounces. And it gives me the option to do I can choose FedEx, USPS, or UPS. And it says your package. And so I can say I'm using a priority envelope, or I can say I'm using my box. And there's four different boxes that I use. I get them all from Walmart, and I have Walmart send them to me 100 at a time, except for the big ones. I order 50 at a time, and they ship them free. And it's a little bit cheaper than what I would pay if I walked into Walmart. And so I can send you the list of, and every time I ship something, I try my best to write it down. So if I used a 12, 8, 10 box today, and I shipped 4-pound boxes, 3 16 ounces, and a sample pack, which is 4 ounces. I put in 3 ounces of tea. I write all that down. So next time I get a crazy order like that, I look and I see if something comparable to that will fit in that box. And then I don't have to tape a box together and try it. I have an idea ahead of time. So I've got all this chicken scratching, but I know roughly what will fit in that box. And then I have my maximum. The 17, 11, 13 box will hold 32 12-ounce bags, and it'll hold 28 16-ounce bags. And so I sort of know what they'll hold. And I've learned from memory the configuration, because how you lay the bag in the box will get you 28 pounds sometimes, or 32 pounds in the box sometimes. And then you can play around, because if somebody says, hey, can you throw me in a burlap sack? Well, I'm not going to say yeah, because giving them a free burlap sack may cost me $6 in shipping. So you can jump on that program real quick, and you can look and say, hey, can I send them a couple of 4-ounce samples with their order? Or is that going to cost me an extra $4 on top of the price of the coffee that I'm sending, you know? And so you're able to look all that stuff up easily. And I promise you, you'll get some better shipping rates, you know, if you can do that. I tried to see if they would let me do other locations, so that like I could have a Jared Wheeler location in Tennessee, and then you'd be able to use it. But if I did, we'd have to pull all out of the same money pool and stuff like that, and you'd have to be routed through my store. So there wasn't any way to do that easily to help out some of the guys, you know, with their shipping. But there is a way to do everything. And this lady was Kansas City. No, it was Kansas City, Missouri. I sent in 5 pounds of coffee in 11 by 7.5 by 5.5 boxes, and it cost $7.98. So that's the one I said it was $8. So it sent it right to the Missouri-Kansas border, which is where Kansas City is. And so there's a Kansas City, Kansas, and there's a Kansas City, Missouri. So that's cheap enough. You know, 5 pounds, she bought $70 worth of coffee. It cost me $8 to ship it to her. And so, you know, that's cheap enough. But otherwise, your best bet is to do a flat rate and just say everything's going to be $9 shipping. And then you'll have to eat a little bit of that, but it makes it easier for them, versus if they go on that shipping calculator, that's just more difficult. We've tried that. But I like just doing a flat rate. So if they buy, you know, a pound of coffee, then they pay $7 flat rate shipping. And so then on a $14.25, I end up collecting $21.25, and it costs me $8 to ship it to them. Sometimes you make more money, sometimes you make less, but the ease of how long it takes to do it. Yesterday, I had 11 orders that went out. If I sit there and figure each of those orders priority, and each of those orders using my box, and then each of those orders on UPS, and then FedEx, and you know, the regular post office, I could spend 10 minutes just trying to figure out what postage would be. So if it's over $30, it's probably going to be FedEx. Sometimes we use UPS, but very seldom UPS beats the prices of FedEx. And so big stuff goes FedEx, small stuff goes post office. I'm hoping that in the near future, and I've heard some rumors that Prime is going to start doing shipping for the public. So you'll be able to mail stuff through Prime. So I'm hoping that happens because Prime can do it way cheaper than the post office can. They're doing all this free shipping all over the country. They figured out how to do it, and post office hadn't been able to figure that out. 14 days, 14 hours a day. You'll sleep when you're dead, man. You got plenty of time to sleep. No, I know. I had my goal tonight to be in bed by 10 o'clock, and I'm hoping I can hit it. But here it is, almost 9. I haven't had supper yet. But no, anything I can help you guys with, let me know. And Travis, if you're still on, which there's still quite a few people on, anything we can help you with, and I don't mind. We throw in these. These bags are pretty flat. We've got 12s and 16s. If I was starting out again, I think I would, and we're thinking seriously about doing just 12-ounce bags, just from the ease of it all. And doing 12-ounce bags on everything, and just maybe even stop selling 16-ounce bags. Your higher end market, is used to doing the 12s, and the people through the door will probably still do a 16-ounce, but we're going to probably do one without the valve for the lower end. That saves us about 7 or 8 or 9 cents. I forget how much. I got new coffee cups the last time I went to Honduras. But yeah, anything we can help you with, we'll sure be happy to help you with. I'm sorry I didn't get to cover everything I wanted to cover tonight, but I'd really like it if some of you guys want to be on the podcast, and especially if you can think of a podcast. I've got one more episode on the sort of the life of the coffee bean, and that's going to be from our processing. No, I guess 2 more. That'll be how we process it, getting it ready to ship, and then the shipping process and all that. So we've got 2 more podcasts to do on that, and I don't have anything scheduled. So in like 3 more weeks, if you guys would like to do a podcast and we just sit and talk about home roasting, or we start talking about that first step into, getting into the market, then, I'd love to, help with what I can. I know a little bit about FDA and a little bit about the health department, a little bit about a lot of stuff, but anything we can do to help. But I'd like to have some different things on the podcast. That's something I've wanted to do a couple of times. But I'd really like to get in and have some different, either that or Bill and I talked one time about actually doing a live. And did we do that, Bill? Did we do a live where we did brew methods on the podcast, didn't we? Or did we do that and then? I'm not sure what we did. We've done so many at this point. I forget if it's a video to put online or if it's something for the podcast. Richard, they let me know today that it missed the last 2 boats that went out. So they're hoping it's going to catch a boat this week. I've got a ticket scheduled to go 14th of September. I'm going on a business trip slash mission trip / catch up with a couple of old friends that are going to be in town that week. There's a motocross thing that I've missed for the last 8 years that I'm going to go to, that a friend of mine puts it on. There'll be bikes there from 6 different countries. There'll be thousands of people show up for this thing. So I've been wanting to do that. So I'm gonna show up to that this next month. But the main thing we're doing is building that classroom. So that'll be during the day. So my nights will be a little more free. And I'm starting to build a new bed for my truck. I'm going to have a big high sideboard bed for my truck. But no, let's do a podcast, and then you guys reach out everybody we can, and we'll start promoting it. If you guys and Travis, Jared, all you guys included, let's figure out what we want to do, and if we want to do a series of 2 or 3 podcasts and do roasting one time, brewing one time. I don't care if you talk about where you get your green coffee from. Um, any of that. And if you have somebody that says, "Hey, I've got some Nicaraguan coffee and it's awesome from this company," that's not going to bother me. Just let's try not to push the other Honduran coffees any more than we have to. But if you've got one, let me know. I might be able to get it, and you could buy it from me rather than somebody else. But let's put together 1 to 3 podcasts and do a series. And if we'll do that, I'll put it on my Instagram and Facebook and do a paid promotion where we'll push it out there. And even to the point, if you guys want to do a paid promotion, I'll pay for it. I'll either trade you in green coffee or something like that. But remember, go ahead and get if you want to order some coffee, get it ordered within the next day or two. If you miss it, you'll have to PM me, and then we'll do something that way to get you some green coffee. But we're pulling it off the line for anybody other than the people that are on my podcast. And so if you've been on the podcast tonight or any other night, we're going to keep selling you green coffee. And there's a couple other people we're obviously going to sell green coffee to. But we're pulling it off because we're getting quite a few new customers. I think this month we've gotten 4 new customers that have ordered green, and I can't service any more people, and so I can't run out of green coffee myself because I just did a inventory tonight of the container, and there's not a lot of coffee in that container, and so I'm getting nervous that I'm going to run out of coffee. Natural, I have plenty of, and I'm opening up a new bag of natural tomorrow. And so it should be online. It's lot 24N. So I'm going to do that. And anybody that orders, I have an unmarked bag of natural for anybody that orders this next week. I'm going to throw in a pound of the unmarked natural for you to try. So if you hit that minimum order, I'll throw you in a free pound, but put it in the notes so I don't forget it. But lot 24N is going to go on sale this week. And I think that's the only one. And I'm going to sell some Sargi Moore this week also. So we're going to do a paid push promotion. I've got about 50 pounds of Sargi Moore that I'm going to roast. And I'm going to probably put about 25 pounds on the green side. And Sargi Moore is a nice coffee. I don't have the flavor profiles, but if you're interested in it, shoot me a PM and I'll let you know. And then I'll have Julia put it on for like one night, and it'll go online that night at, let's say, next Tuesday night. We'll put it on during the podcast only, and then you can order it. Or if you PM me, then we can do an order, and you can buy Perry Nama and say replace it with the Sargi Moore. I think it was an 87 point, but we'll figure that out. And I also have a Sargi Moore Peaberry. So I won't let you guys, if you've started pushing our coffee, I'm not going to let you run out of coffee. But we will have to pull it off because we've had some bigger orders this last week, and somebody went in and ordered 50 pounds of my washed, and I was running dangerously low on it, and they pulled 50 pounds out. So I'm not sure, but most of the lowest cupping score on my naturals generally is an 86. The lot, I'll have to look, but the lot 26N is an 88 point. So I'm going to guess that the 24N is either 86 or 86.5. But and I have no idea. There's an unmarked bag, but when you open up a bag of coffee, the natural just knocks you over with that winey fermented smell. And that's one of the things I love about the natural. But the new 24 will go online tomorrow, and it doesn't have any just amazing cupping notes. And so that's probably why it didn't hit that 87, 88 score. Or it didn't have an amazing fruit like lot 26N does. But I'm on my last bag of 26N. And so I think I sold one bag of 24 last year, and then I pulled it and was selling the 26 instead. Whoops. Okay, I just got an order from somebody. I have to go over and look at it. Hey, you gotta love that. And I think I recognize everybody online tonight as being green coffee people. So but we'll have to see. Somebody may have, yep, somebody just bought Perry Nama. No, this is roasted because they got Eli Mountain Blend, Don Ashley, the Bourbon, a breakfast blend, Perry Nama. So they're probably not on the podcast tonight. Hey guys, it's been a great showing, and thank you guys for your question. Oh, hey Mike, how you doing, buddy? Oh, the lot 26N has been probably one of our most popular lots. It's I haven't hit the roast to where I'd like to drink it in a cup, but the way I roast it right now is great in an espresso, and so that's what I recommend it for, is the cold brew and the espresso. Like if you've got an espresso machine. My wife loves it, the way she brews it. She loves drinking it in just a regular cup. But I haven't had a customer that's come in all day and drank a hot cup of coffee out of like the vacuum pots. And I'm about to finish off a vacuum pot. And so I've had at least coming on like 3 quarts of coffee today. No, 2 quarts. That's 2 quarts. So I've had a lot of coffee today. And so I tend to drink one that's a little more a cleaner cup. And so what I'm drinking right now is a Lempira washed pea berry. Normally I drink either the washed Perry Nama or the washed Marciesa. And so the Marciesa, I'm roasting my last batch tomorrow. And then tomorrow I'm going to pick up 2 different decafs. And they've got 5 to choose from. So I'm going to get in there and look at them and smell them. And I'll pick up 2 different bags of decaf tomorrow from one of my customers that buys in bulk. But yeah, guys, thanks, and share us with a friend. All right, and you guys look up Patriot Coffee Roasters and friend Rob, and let's all make sure we friend each other, because yeah, thanks for watching the podcast. Send me a PM if you've got any other questions on anything to do with coffee or unders or any of that good stuff. But yeah, PM me tomorrow. My day is I got to knock out a couple of orders, and I'm just returning emails. So you guys send me an email about anything you want to know about, and we'll sort of go from there. But guys, thanks for coming on, and I'll get the notes. I've made some notes. There's a couple of questions I've got to answer that I couldn't answer, but I'll get to everything next week, and I might try to do one on Saturday. And yeah, next week we'll try to have Bill's picture up on the green screen. But thanks for being on the podcast tonight. If you would share it, send us friend requests and stuff like that on Facebook and Instagram. And you guys all have a great night, and we'll see you soon.